Why yes, I did make this intro. Thank you for noticing. It sucks. Fuck you. So Baited has been in turmoil here lately, with KeemStar, Colossal, and Tommy C bickering about everything from money to the circumstances of their original partnership. And unsurprisingly, 99% of people are going to side with Colossal and Tommy C based solely off people's pre-existing disdain for KeemStar. Oh, what's that? I'm Alex already made a video about it only a few hours after the initial claims? I'm sure he really thought about what was going on and totally didn't take a one-sided bias based on who he liked more. But anyways, we're going to be looking at this from KeemStar's point of view and seeing if there's not a compelling argument to be found on his side of the story. Now, Baited has always been a show that worked because of the differing opinions of its hosts. So there was always some form of conflict there that probably led the situation into this boiling point, but for the purposes of this video, we're going to be looking at the two most recent conflicts between the cast, those being the equal monetary split as well as the official podcast dilemma. First, let's talk about the money situation since it happened first. So if you're unaware, on December 12th, KeemStar posted this tweet stating that Baited just ended. Now, unfortunately, I'm going to have to go mainly off memory here because the majority of the tweets that went back and forth between Colossal and KeemStar have been deleted, but basically they were discussing money in private. Colossal wanted to discuss the division of wages on the next podcast in, I guess, an attempt to make KeemStar see that it would be more fair if they had an even split. Because as it stood, the split was KeemStar 50%, Colossal 30%, and Tommy 20%. KeemStar was adversarial to the idea, believing that this wasn't a topic of discussion that should be had on the podcast. With this information, KeemStar went public and started talking about how greedy Colossal was and about the end of Baited. All of this culminating in a tweet-longer post that showed his reasoning behind why he was upset. Now, this is a hard topic for speculation because the basis of the argument was all private. We don't know how the conversation went between KeemStar and Colossal. We don't know if it was long or short. We don't even know what was said. KeemStar painted it as Colossal was asking for a bonus, which he viewed as disrespectful, and Colossal painted it as if he was wanting pay to be equal, but the increase to him didn't really play a part of why he was asking for it or why he wanted to talk about it. So there are several things to keep in mind when talking about Baited and the pay scale percentages that they had. First of all, when Baited started, Tommy had 1,000 subscribers, and Colossal had either 70,000 or 100,000 roughly. However, KeemStar had well over 1 million. Which could already put into perspective why their percentages were the way they are. On top of that, you have to keep in mind that these three were not friends when this started. It's even debatable if they're friends now. These three were simply business associates who came to a mutual agreement. This podcast wasn't made because they were already friends, so anyone who says that they should have had an equal split is just flat out wrong because this podcast was always a vehicle for business. KeemStar brought in more revenue, therefore he got more commission, and that's just the bottom line. Another issue that I think KeemStar had was I don't think he saw Colossal as taking the podcast very seriously.
What do you know? Colossal is crazy, has failed us again. We record an amazing podcast yesterday with Zoe Berger, highly entertaining. I know you guys are going to love it. Clown tells all of us, I'm going to hurry up, I'm going to edit this and get it out tomorrow. Last night, he puts out a post saying the podcast is coming out tomorrow. But what do you know? Clown has been missing on the internet for the last 19 hours. So most likely he didn't edit the fucking podcast, and it's not going to come out tonight, and it's probably not going to come out tomorrow, and it's probably not going to come out the day after that because Clown is constantly fucking failing everyone.
Colossal was often unavailable or busy, which would obviously make KeemStar question his dedication to the project. And now Colossal is going to be asking for an extra 3.3%? This probably came across as disrespectful to a guy who doesn't even think that you're putting that much attention into it in the first place. The next big issue, which appears to be the final straw for the podcast, comes ironically from another podcast. During a podcast known as The Official Podcast, the hosts discuss Leafy, Colossal, and KeemStar from an experience that they had with Leafy and Colossal at the beginning of 2016. Now, this situation seems to be a disconnect between what Colossal thinks the issue is and what KeemStar thinks the issue is. Colossal thinks the issue is that he had a video of an underage girl dancing with KeemStar sign or whatever, and he was checking into that to see if KeemStar had asked her to do that or if it was just something that she did. But KeemStar's dilemma is the time frame. We can tell this by the original posting of his segment on Twitter. That time frame being January 2016 when this conversation took place. At this time, KeemStar was friends with Leafy. The issues between them hadn't sprung up yet. In fact, they even say that the next day or whatever, Leafy came onto Drama Alert and he and KeemStar were laughing it up.
But the time span is exactly a few days after Charlie made his KeemStar video, and a few days before, I swear to God, this is literally, not like Leafy literally, but dictionary definition of literally, 2 days later, this fucking dipshit goes on KeemStar's show and acts all buddy-buddy with the guy, does a like roast session with some other YouTuber where he calls him like a dick sucker or some original like that.
Now, where KeemStar sees this as an issue with Colossal is that Colossal knew that Leafy wanted to take KeemStar down as early as January. He knew that Leafy was conspiring against him, yet he never told KeemStar that Leafy was only being his faux friend. Even after KeemStar and Colossal were friends, he never told him that this was all premeditated event.
Now, Clown knew this whole time that Leafy hated my fucking guts, and that Leafy was just using me. And then fast forward to June of 2016, where Grade and Leafy fucking betrayed me. Clown came rushing in like the fucking heroes saying, oh, it was wrong what they did to you, and let me help you make a defense video. And
then on top of that, once Leafy did make his video, Colossal came to KeemStar acting as if what Leafy did was wrong when he seemingly knew that Leafy was going to make such a video in the first place. Which is why KeemStar sees this video as new information. It has very little to do with the pedophile allegations, it has more to do with what the time frame was. Alright guys, that's the video. Like it, don't like it, let me know. And just so that you know, this video is called Devil's Advocate for a reason. I think Colossal is probably in the right for the most part here, but I know that everyone is gonna hop on his bandwagon and say that KeemStar is 100% wrong when that's not really exactly true. No, KeemStar shouldn't have gone public with most of these situations, especially with the money situation in my opinion. The issue should have been discussed in private, and it all seems like pointless drama that didn't really even need to happen. But that being said, it was all going to go public anyway because they were going to have a podcast about it, so KeemStar probably would have come across as the greedy bad guy if that podcast would have came out. Also, there's too much uncertainty with things like their money discussion. We don't know how that conversation went unless one of them recorded it and releases it to the public. Colossal obviously has a better reputation, so people generally believe what he's saying, but there's no certainty without proof. Neither side has showed proof, so neither side can be seen as wholly credible with their claims. And finally, Tommy made allegations that KeemStar wanted to fire him and wanted to end the podcast, but neither of those things have been proven true to my knowledge, and if KeemStar really didn't want to do a podcast, I don't really know why he would have said on his Twitter that he was going to start another one up as early as next year. Shark Pride for life, bruh.